It is time to breathe again on the latest breath of fresh air, Shorty. I am your host, Chuck Taylor, or Charles Taylor, whichever way you want to call me, as long as it's not bad. But I am your host for this edition, for this Shorty, and we are going to talk about the preseason all together, just preseasons. So, of course, we are in the middle of the NFL preseasons. And me personally, I am good with seeing the preseason games. We got to remember, last year, we didn't have any preseasons because we were right there in the middle of the COVID pandemic. And I guess we're still in the middle of the COVID pandemic. But at least this year we have games to watch. So now we can go and we can do evaluations on the players. We can look at different quarterback battles, different position battles, and we can keep track of those players that are on our favorite teams and on the rival teams and just the teams as a whole. So, me personally, I am good with watching some of the preseason games. I'm not going to tell you if I've watched all of the preseason games, but I've gotten my eyes on a good amount of them to know just enough about what's going on with the teams. And then, of course, when it comes time to pick in our division winners, when we have our NFL preview show coming up in a couple of weeks, we'll be ready and well prepared for that. Well, okay, take it back. We know how Patrick is. Patrick may or may not be prepared, but normally he is good when it comes to making these picks, and he comes from a well thought out process in making those picks. So, with all that said, some people like the preseason and others do not. It's just that simple. And let's face it, we know, particularly in the NFL, and I guess with all the sports, if you do have preseason games in these pro leagues, it's basically a money grab. They are part of the season ticket options that are there for the teams, and the NFL is going to do anything they can to cash in with their product. We know this about the NFL. But some of the players and coaches, they don't like it. Others look at it as a time to get their feet wet, get into the rigors, or start getting into the rigors of the season by getting their players reps, by getting their players maybe extra rest time or extra recuperation time, whatever it may be. But they look at this time period between when training camp starts and the first game of the regular season as a time to get everybody acclimated with what's going on. Now, with the addition of joint practices, a lot of those reps take place there. And when it gets to the preseason games, a lot of those players, your starters, they don't see time during those preseason games because they've been basically getting their work in during these joint practice sessions. So I guess my overriding question with the NFL and with all the leagues is is it time to just get rid of the preseason games altogether? Is it time to just do your practice time, particularly in the NFL when you have the joint practices? Is it just time to just do those practices and then go straight into the season? Just get rid of the preseason games in general. Now, we know in college, they don't have any preseason games. They do their practices with the individual teams, and bam, it's time to play. And I kind of like that. You go and you get into the camps. You know what you've been doing. You've had the spring training or the spring practices. You've been in all these other off-season programs, and then you're just ready. You're just ready to play. So it is great to see those players just jump right into it. So I think there's some pros and cons to it all. I would be okay with either or. And as long as those players are getting the work in, as long as they are doing what they have to get better, whether that's lifting weights, whether that is doing those extra wind sprints, extra squat rep, or whatever it may be, then I think they'll be fine. So That's the question that I am presenting to you guys, and I would love to have your feedback on that. Is it time to just do away with preseasons altogether? Get in the training camps, do your practices. If you want to have joint practices, then you do that. And then don't even worry about the preseason games. Let's just go right into it and do your thing. Now, as far as the NFL goes, the NFL, so they have three preseason games this year. Now the Dallas Cowboys and Pittsburgh Steelers have four because they're going to, or because they played in the Hall of Fame game earlier, so that's the extra one for them. But uh, the rest of the teams they have three. What I think the NFL is going to end up doing is they're going to cut it down to two, and then they're going to add another regular season game. I do see a scenario where they're going to have 18 regular season games, and I think it's probably more of it happening or of it it's going to happen more than whether or not it is it a question, because at the end they're all about the money. The players are all about the money too. They can say all the stuff they want about it being taxing on their bodies, blah 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 blah. If they were really concerned about that, then they would have said no to the 17th game. But apparently them and the players union, they're about the money. So I don't buy anything they have to say when it comes to player safety, because at the end of the day, it is about getting paid. And that's what everybody's about. And it's okay if you're about that. Just admit it. It's okay. You can admit that. Nobody's going to judge you for it because we all want to get paid in some way, shape, or form. But what I think is going to happen is they're going to cut down the preseasons to two, and you're going to have 18 regular season games. And with those two games, well, all right, let that be your dress rehearsal, the first game. And then the second game, just use that to evaluate your team. Make sure you fill that roster spot out, and make sure when it cuts down to the cut time for 53, then you go ahead and you cut it down to 53. But I think since you see those guys every day in practice, you probably have a good idea as the coaches of who's going to be on the team and who's not going to be on the team. But I think those games can help gauge because you are putting them in game scenarios. And you also have the joint practices. So there are resources that are available to you in the preseason that you might not be able to get otherwise. So overall, that's the question I have. Is it time to just do away with the preseasons in the NFL, in the NBA, NHL, and in spring training for MLB? Is it time to just not worry about those? Or is it different just depending on the sport we're talking about? I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And please leave the comments and the feedback in those sections whenever you get the opportunity. So that's what I am breathing on for today. Y'all make sure y'all go to the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel and smash that subscribe button and keep the likes coming on the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. We will be live tonight at 8 o'clock, our normal time, so we hope you can join us on there. Patrick Brackett is supposed to be on there with me, and hopefully we have a special guest to join us as well. So until then, y'all have a great Tuesday afternoon, and we will see you hopefully later on tonight. Y'all take care.